primary sensory motor areas, visual auditory cortex, motor and somatosensory cortex. There's a lot of brain matter still remaining that we haven't talked about in the cortex. What do these other parts of the cortex do? In general, all of the areas of the cortex outside the primary sensory motor areas are called association areas. So we're going to take a look at those now, and you're going to see that the association areas are devoted also to specialized functions, different association areas, but more complex, higher order functions than simply taking in information from one particular sensory modality, for example. The kinds of higher cognitive functions that one would assume depend upon input from several modalities and organizing and dealing with that information in complex ways. One of the main ways we've learned about the functions of different parts of the brain in general, and in particular the association areas, is by studying individuals who have had damage to different parts of the cortex. Today, actually, there are other mechanisms that we have at our disposal. We can do mapping of the brain with somebody in a magnet, if anybody knows anything about magnetic resonance imaging. We can take an image of what's going on in the brain while an individual's doing something. And we've learned a lot from these modern techniques. But much of the basic information came from studying individuals who had damage to their brain, experienced particular patterns of symptoms, and then at the time of death, their brains were studied and examined to find where was the damage that produced this particular pattern of lack of functioning. So what we're going to do is talk about 3 different disorders, each of which is associated with damage in a particular part of the cortex.